All right, so the next one is about when you are tacking. And the basic rule is this: it doesn't matter whether you're windward or whether you're leeward, whether you're port or whether you're starboard. If you decide to change course to tack, you have to keep out of the way of other boats until you complete the tack. Okay, so here's the port boat is going to tack to get out of the way of the starboard boat, but he does it too late and the starboard boat has to alter course. So even though the blue boat has gone on to starboard tack and is the leeward boat, so would have the right to force the boat up, because they hadn't completed the tack by the time that the yellow boat had to alter course, they're in the wrong. So just be mindful of that. If, particularly on that port starboard example we talked about before, if you think you can cross them and tack in front of them, you better be sure that you can. Because if you don't complete your tack, and this was a big one in the Sydney Hobart the other year when Comanche tacked on the top of, which boat was it?
The other big boat.
The other big boat, yeah. And didn't complete the tack in time and didn't do a turn, a penalty turn, and then got penalised for it at the end of the race. So a completed tack would be, in this situation here, if the blue boat got completely in front by the time it completed its tack, so let's just pause it there, pause. If it's got, boom, right round here, then it's completed its tack and hasn't fouled the other boat. But because you can see here, it's got to there, it hasn't completed its tack. Yeah, on here you can see that the sails are flapping, he hasn't completed his tack, this boat is going to run into him, so has to get out of the way.
Just going back to the leeward and wind situation.
Yep.
Quite often people will try and pinch up a little bit into the wind if they're leeward, forcing the competitor upwind. What is considered to be illegal?
You're not allowed to sail beyond head to wind.
Okay, so as soon as you get a luff on your jib,
head to wind is you're pointing into the wind. You can screw them right up.
Yeah, but
you can. Yeah.
Well, and also there's the rule of proper course, which is in next week's thing. Is if your proper course is to go that way, and you decide you're going to sail up like this and force this boat, you can't do that because your proper course is to head to that mark over there. It gets a bit complicated. I wasn't getting into the complicated parts of the rules today. Yeah.
But if your boat points higher than their boat,
well, great, yeah.
You can push them out.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll see that with the SB20. So if we've got boats running dead downwind, and I'm sailing up here like these sailing angles with my spinnaker, that's my proper course. And you have to keep out of my way. So the next one is, and this is where we've got a bit of a change in the rules because the latest rules came out in January this year, and they did have quite a serious change to this rule about changing course, the right-of-way boat. Okay, so if you are you can change course as a right-of-way boat, but you can't get to a situation where the boat that has to give way isn't able to give way. Okay, you can't force another boat into a collision with you. Okay, so let's have a look at this one here. Okay, all right, so you can see here the yellow boat is on starboard and the blue boat is on port. The yellow boat can change its course, but it can't change it so that the other boat runs into it. So we'll just go back and have a look at that one again. Okay, so the yellow boat can change its course because it has right of way, but it can't change it such that the blue boat can't keep out of the way. Okay, you've got to let the other boat get out of the way. If you cause an accident, it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. So this one is really interesting. So this is the latest rule, the version for 2025, and I might just pause it there because I'm not sure how this bit of the video. So in here we've got a leeward boat down here and two boats to windward. The leeward boat can try and get these boats to keep out of its way by altering its course. But you can see this blue boat hasn't got anywhere to go. It's going to run, if it tries to keep out of the way of the boat that it has to give way to, it's going to run into the yellow boat. So the green boat is not allowed to force the blue boat to do that. Okay, so, and the only time you will see this pretty much is on the start line. Okay, so just bear in mind that even though you've got rights, you've got responsibilities. And this is where the racing rules of sailing are different to the collision regulations. Because the collision regulations are all about keeping boats apart and not having collisions. And the racing rules were about that too. They were about responsibilities, but now they've become, in the minds of yacht racers, about rights. Okay, I'm in starboard, I have the right to do this. Well, yes you do, but you've also got a responsibility to avoid a collision. Okay, if you can't just insist on your rights and, oh, they ran into me because I had the right. It doesn't work that way. The next one is when boats meet. And Doug just prompted this. I heard the term boy room. That's exactly what we're going to talk about here. The imaginary thing in the boy room one is a 3 boat length zone. Okay? So I'm going to pause it here. And you can see you've got the mark and then you've got this circle around it. Now, in reality, that circle is not drawn on the water. Okay? You have to judge that. And it's called the 3 boat length zone. So if we've got differing lengths of boats, okay, for me, if I'm in the front with the SB20, it's only 60 feet. If Tamariki's in there, that's a 40-footer, is it, Tamariki?
Yeah.
Yep, it's 120 feet. Okay?
What's this based on the longest boat?
It's the boat that gets there first.
Oh, gets there first.
Okay, all right. So it's the boat that gets there first. Now you can see in this one here, if the yellow boat has got to the 3 boat length zone before the blue boat. Now the yellow boat would normally have to give way to this leeward boat. The blue boat would normally be able to sail up and force this boat up. But because the yellow boat has got to the 3 boat length zone first, the blue boat has to let the yellow boat go around the mark. So the outside boat in this situation has to give the inside boat room to get round. Now, this is where the change is. The rule always said this, but it was misinterpreted by so many people that they actually changed the wording. That it's the first boat that gets to the 3 boat length zone. So it doesn't matter whether you're overlapped or not. It doesn't matter whether one's on port or one's on starboard. It doesn't matter whether one is windward or one is leeward. Okay, the one that has got closest, got there first, has right of way. So in this situation, the green boat has got to the 3 boat length zone first. And the yellow boat may be going faster, and obviously is going faster because it passes the green boat. But the green boat does not have to give this inside boat room because the green boat was the first boat in the circle. So that's the thing you need to remember. If you're first into the 3 boat length zone, you get room to go around the mark.
But if it's Tamariki, it's happening like 60 foot before you get to the 3 boat.
Yep, that's too bad.
They're in the 3 boat,
yep.
And you've still got another 60 feet to go.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if Tamariki gets to the 120 feet of the mark before the SB20 does, Tamariki's the first boat into the zone. And we're fortunate in that our boats are so spaced out in performance that we very rarely have 2 boats going around the mark at the same time. But it is something to be aware of, particularly because in the course diagram that was put out last week, there was a reference to buoy room, and that reference was wrong. Okay, because once you are round the mark, you do not have to give way to any other boats. You don't have to give buoy room. Sorry, you have to give way, port, starboard, windward, leeward, but you don't have to give buoy room to any other boats. Whereas the rule that was said to play was the boats that we were coming this way from Fisherman's to the Hope Mark. Boats that were round it, they said they had to give way, give buoy room to these boats. No. It's not the case. If you run to around, you're around. Yep. Okay, now there's another bit here about tacking in the zone. If you tack in the zone, you can lose your rights. Okay, so in this situation here, the yellow boat was the first boat into the zone. So it would have right of way to get around the mark, but it's tacked. And now it's tacked from starboard onto port, and it's tacked back again, and it cannot assume that these other boats will give it room because it's tacked in the mark, in the zone. So it doesn't have buoy room. These other boats do not have to give this boat room, even though it was the first one there, because it is tacked in the zone. So be mindful of that as well when you are coming into a mark. It's particularly, unless you're a top championship sailor, it's advisable to stay on one tack to come in on the mark. Okay, because if you have to tack within the zone, you lose those rights and you might not be aware of it. Okay, so the next one is at the starting mark. And the thing about the starting mark is that the buoy room rule does not apply at the start.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Yeah, so there's no 3 boat length zone around the start boat or the pin. Okay? So that means that this boat is coming in, and if this was a normal mark, he could say, I've got buoy room. But because it's a start mark, he doesn't. This is called the barging rule. Okay? No, you can't barge in. Yep, here we go. Yep, so that means the yellow boat's got to bail out and go around. Okay? So that's a very quick one. Okay, so avoiding collisions. As we've said, even if you have right of way, you must take action to avoid a collision.
Yeah.
So in that situation, the yellow boat is barging through, and so the blue boat has rights, but because they didn't avoid the collision, you can get into strife. So just remember that as well. Your rights finish at the time when you force someone to run into you. Okay, start of the race. Now, there's some people have got back in the olden days, if you were over the line early at the start, there were certain things you had to do, but those rules have changed. This is what happens if you are over early at the start. All you need to do is get your bow back down below the start line. Okay, so that boat's over early. All it needs to do is to wait, is to get its bow down below the line and then come back up. So that, no, just the tip of the bow.
Just the tip of the bow?
Yep. So that's all you need to worry about on the start line. If you're early, duck down, get your bow below the line, and then you can start. So if anyone's told you you've got to go right round the end of the line and all that sort of stuff, that's not the rule. Okay, all you got to do is get your bow down. Now, if you haven't got room, if there's a whole shitload of boats lined up here, then you might have to keep sailing until you've got room to come back, and you have to go all the way back. And there's a lot of starting rules, but because we don't have a race officer controlling our start, we don't have a boat putting the flags up and blowing the horns and things like that, I'm not going to cover off all of those starting rules because we don't use them. So we don't need to worry about all those start line rules, but I'm happy to do another session about starting prior to the regatta when Pricey, who's our race officer, does do all the proper things, so you need to know what those are. But in the meantime, as a need-to-know basis, that's all we need to know about starting. Okay, so the next one, about touching a racing mark. Okay, if you hit a mark, whether it's the start mark or any of the normal marks, whoops, I've hit the mark, all you have to do is do one 360-degree turn, or more specifically, a turn that has one tack and one jibe. So it might not be an entire 360. If he decides after going through here, he's tacked here, he's jibed here, he decides, whoops, the wind's changed, I'm going to go that way. Hasn't done 360 degrees, but he has done one tack and one jibe. Now, the key to this though is you have to get clear of other boats before you do that circle. You cannot just chuck it straight into a circle if there's other boats near you, because you'll break that rule of fouling other boats when you're doing a penalty turn. Okay, so this was a situation where happened a couple of weeks ago, where SB20, we hit the start mark. There was bugger all breeze. Alieska was right beside us. It was quite a long way before we got away from the mark, before we actually had room to do the 360-degree turn. But we did do it. And the hitting the mark rule is Rule 31, because someone Googled that and let me know on WhatsApp that I had breached Rule 31. So this is the other thing. I'm not telling you the rule numbers, apart from the only rule number I've mentioned is Rule 18. You don't need to know the numbers of the rules. You just need to know what the rules are. The next one is what happens if you do foul another boat, if you are the giveaway boat and you don't give way. Okay, so this is the situation here. The yellow boat has broken the rule. The yellow boat has to do two 360-degree turns. Now the sailing instructions can change that. So in most of the Olympic classes, for example, two turns in a fleet of lasers is so much of a disadvantage that they change it to one turn. Okay, so you take a penalty, but you don't lose the entire race. That's the idea. The idea is to penalise you, to disadvantage you, but not to make it so you can't do it. But for us, for keelboats, the standard rule is two turns. And again, you have to do it when you are clear of other boats. So firstly, you should be aware if you have broken a rule and you have a responsibility to do the penalty. But if you're not sure, the advice is, if you think, I might have broken a rule, I'm not sure, and the other boat hasn't told you, the advice is, do the penalty turn anyway. So the other responsibility is enforcing the rules is, if a boat has fouled you, you have an obligation to tell them, and that is called protesting. And what you need to do is for most of you, two things. The first thing you have to do is you need to say the word protest. Okay? No other word is accepted. You can say, oi, do your bloody turns, oi, piss off, oi, you idiot, or whatever. If you haven't said the word protest, the other boat, it would get thrown out of the protest hearing. The other thing you need to do is, if your boat is bigger than 20 feet long, or 6 metres long, you must fly a red flag at the earliest possible opportunity. So it's always good to have a little red flag maybe tied onto your backstay, or we had it in a little red flag on a stick in the pouch on the Thompson.
But you can just go like that. You don't have to pull it off the mast. That's
correct. You can just wave it. The SB20 doesn't need one because it's only 20 foot long. So this is really important. Now, we don't necessarily have protest hearings, but if you are in a situation where there is a protest hearing, the first thing the protest committee will ask you was, did you say protest? And when did you raise your flag? So a situation that I was involved in when I was calling the tactics for a Mum 36 in Hobart, and I told the skipper, don't go barging in there at the start line, but he ignored that. And so we came through, and the boat that we were coming in at the start line, the boat that we were fouling actually bore away to get more speed. So I thought, okay, well, we haven't actually barged. We should be fine. We didn't hear the word protest, and it wasn't until a mile further up the beat we crossed the boat again and we saw them showing a red flag. They went into the protest hearing, and they were asked, describe to the committee how you displayed the flag. Oh, well, we couldn't find it straight away, so Joe had to go down below and rummaged around. We finally found it down in the back of the sail locker, and so we got it out. And it was like, nah, sorry. You've got to give the other boat opportunity as soon as possible. I was going to do a little interactive thing, but we don't actually have time to do that. Which I'll post a link on the WhatsApp group. It's an interactive racing rules thing. So you can choose a situation. So here we've got the barging situation. Okay. And the question is, which boat should take the penalty or be penalised in a valid protest?
The red one's barging.
The red one is barging. So this is a really good good thing. You've got lots of different situations. Okay, so you've got touching the mark. That's the penalty. Have they done an appropriate penalty? One jibe. No. He hasn't. He's only done one job. He hasn't done the tack. So even though he's gone pretty much 360 degrees almost, he hasn't done the tack and the jibes. So that's a really, really good one if you like to mess around with the rules. Just bear in mind if you are playing with this, we haven't covered off all the rules. And so they've got rules on a beat to windward, they've got windward mark rules on a reach. We haven't covered off all of these. But there's some in there that we have covered off. So if you want to refresh your memory and have a little game, please feel free to do that. So next week, we're going to be doing some tactics. Okay, so we're going to be doing how to use some of the rules to your advantage and also some other basic tactical things for your sailing.